My dad retired recently. That's very weird, because he's become a totally different person. He's like really softened. He's become very sentimental. He's like a total pussy. And like, I don't know how to handle that energy at all. Like, I was home for Thanksgiving a couple years ago, and we were watching football on TV. It's just me and him in the living room. And when the game ended, he turned the TV off and he looked at me and he went, Joseph, have I ever told you about my happiest memory? I was like, nah. And he goes, well, I want to share this with you. I don't know if you remember this, but when you were 9 years old, Joseph, your mother and I, we bought you a Sega Genesis for Hanukkah. Do you remember that? And you wanted that Sega so badly, you kept asking for it for months, and we told you were never getting a Sega. And that first night of Hanukkah, you opened up that gift, and I've never seen anything like it. You started jumping up and down and screaming. You kissed me on the cheek. And to know that I could bring another person that kind of joy, he was like getting all emotional. He's like, if I could freeze my life in any moment, it would be right there when you opened that Sega. And I was sitting there like, damn, Dad, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. That was beautiful. But in my head, I was like, fuck. So little backstory. Here's what you need to know. When I was 9 years old, I was a little piece of shit, and I knew where my parents hid presents, right? And so one day, my parents went to the grocery store. I saw them pull out of the driveway, and I locked the door. I ran into my dad's closet, looked under this big pile of sweaters. There was a giant, wrapped, rectangular present. And like a little spy, I got down and carefully opened up the Scotch tape, and it revealed the word Sega Genesis. And obviously out loud, I was like, fucking finally! God damn it. So I got back down, I started to close the present back up, and as I did, I tore the corner of the wrapping paper. It wasn't severe, but, you know, maybe if you imagine that your dad worked closely with, I don't know, like forensic scientists, it was like super noticeable. And for the next 6 weeks, I can't even convey to you the sheer terror I lived under, that at any point my dad was gonna get chilly, put on a sweater, see this tampered present, and then send me to jail? Like, the stakes were so high. And it was like a true Hanukkah miracle. Like, the first night, my parents put out all the presents for my sister and I. No one noticed the tear. We went over to the table. We started lighting candles, all that bullshit. And then, before anyone had a chance to look at the presents, I ran over, I tore it open, and just like wildly overcompensated, you know? Like a bad actor. I was like, what, a Sega? And I started like jumping up and down and screaming. I kissed my dad on the cheek. At one point, I did a cartwheel. That's how crazy. I was just, in my head, I was like, I knew it was effeminate, but I was like, I gotta sell this. I gotta sell this. I guess I sold it. It's my dad's happiest memory.